Hello and welcome. Today we would like to talk about the design criteria. We've already finished our concept phase, which is highlight of the elevator pitch. From now on, we would like to enter the design and engineering phase, which is actually the longest phase of our entire semester, which will lead to a set of drawings that describes your prototype to be built within phase 3, the building phase, which will take time on the third and second week in December. After that, we have a break and we will finalize the semester in January within the final product phase that end up in the final presentation. As already mentioned, due to the elevator pitches you have given last week, we have formed groups, and within these groups we would like to ask you to think about the design vision and the definition of design criteria. Let's start with the design vision. The design vision explains in a few sentences why the design is needed and should be a success. In order to make it a little bit more easier to you to understand, I'd like to use the example of an umbrella. A design vision could look like that. I envisioned an umbrella that is small and light enough to be carried around all the time, protects me during heavy rain, and is robust enough to withstand even the strongest storms. If we look at the first example here, a huge, massive umbrella, which tackles quite well the aspects of protection. But if you think already, this might be a problem when heavy wind strikes you and it may collapse. Therefore, the robustness of such a big system might be questionable. You might even fly away with that. If we look at the functionality of carried around all the time, we can see that usually umbrellas can be rolled up to be easily stored and taken to the places you need them. But this may also bury a problem. Often, when you leave a building, you forget your umbrella due to the fact that you had to leave it somewhere to dry, or because of its bulky shape that's not easy to carry around. So therefore you can think about a collapsible version of the umbrella that is small enough to be packed and therefore easy and light to carry around. The aspects of protection still has to be remained the same. If we look at the design flaws of such an idea, you may look at the picture here and you will find a very common problem that these umbrellas, due to their lightweight constructions, are quite vulnerable to storms and they often break and fall apart. The very last, a design that is developed here in Delft, is the Sense umbrella, which has taken all the different considerations from the design vision into shape, and they have tackled all the problems mentioned in before. Due to its asymmetrical shape, it can be taken for a backwind and frontwind situation. They have solved the problem with the mechanics that it's robust enough and doesn't flip over. It can be stored and brought into a smaller size for easy carriage, and they even have thought about the end tips of these metal bars with eye savers that they doesn't poke your eyes. So therefore, we would like to ask you to think about the design criteria that makes these designs measurable. Therefore, we can separate into two different kinds. First, we have the soft criteria that describes the principles. This could be easy to use, easy to transport, lasts long, or flexible in use. General descriptions what your product should be. In order to make this more measurable, also to help you to compare different variations, you should use hard criteria. Hard criteria could be measurements, weight, costs, small to pack, waterproof, shading, time to assemble. And all of these can be looked into the different perspectives of the measurements. For instance, centimeters, a meter, or something like that. The weight can be a very important factor, maximum 20 kilograms per unit. Maybe there's a health rule or something like that, that an employee is not allowed to lift elements heavier than 20 kilograms. If it has to be easy to pack, to transport, you may also consider the dimensions. You can define the waterproofness. Watches, for instance, there are differences in between. Good to be taken into the shower, suitable for swimming, but also very extreme water tightnesses that allows you to deep dive with these watches. Time to assemble, for instance, could be described in minutes, but this all relative to your task. A tent that has to be set up several times within your camping holidays would actually be 5 to 10 minutes maybe. A house that is fast and quick to assemble may take a couple of months, and this is still considered to be a quick setup. I'd like to ask you to follow me for the next example. A friend of mine ran into mine and asked for a car. He said, hey, I have one. Have a look at that. And then, I need a bigger one. So, you don't like it. Voila, what about this? No, that's too big. Ta-da! What about this? Wonderful Ferrari. Too expensive. I think it's clear we can stop here. But how do we continue to help? Ask yourself, which questions do you have to ask someone in order to help him to find the right car? Shout these out. Size, type of the engine, how many people can sit in it, is it on-road or off-road, do you need a specific color, for instance? And all of these facts you have just yelled out are criteria. So therefore, we need criteria in order to describe a product or help someone finding the right car or product. If we look at AutoScout24, a website to buy and sell second-hand cars, you will find a lot of criteria on their first page. So whenever you enter the system, they will ask you, do you look for a specific brand, a specific fuel economy, maybe the number of seats are very important for you. Something like that will make your life easier if you're looking for a car. Maybe even a budget. I don't care about color or engine type or whatsoever. I just need a car for €1,000. You will also find according to the criteria the system offers. Now it's time for you to think about the design vision and the definition of the design criteria. On next Tuesday, we would like to start discussing your first approaches towards a design vision that explains in a few sentences why the design is needed and should be a success. Take, for instance, the example of the umbrella as a starting point. Next to that, we would like to ask you to define design criteria. Start with the soft ones and move over to hard criteria whenever you feel comfortable in picking the right ones. Thank you very much. See you all